I never would have imagined that my girlfriend, Willow, would conspire with my second brother, Makoto, to falsely accuse me of being a pervert. The university I had worked so hard to get into was stolen by Makoto, who took my place under my name. Later, the woman I cherished most, Willow, married Makoto. Our parents' house was given to our youngest brother, Kaito. My job was handed over to our little sister, Maria. And me. I was left behind in a small mountain village, working as a miner. The long hours and harsh conditions ruined my health, and I developed a severe lung disease. By the time I died, there was no one left to even bury me. Makoto sneered at me in disgust and said, "Are you kidding? Tuberculosis is contagious." Kaito and Maria chimed in, "You're a criminal. We need to cut all ties with you." Willow, who had never cared before, suddenly showed up. She looked at me for the first time in years and said, "George, I wronged you back then, but I can only repay you in our next life." Cough. I couldn't even breathe properly. Blood splattered everywhere as I took my final breath, dying with hatred in a shabby rural clinic. But the next moment, when I opened my eyes, 17-year-old Willow was standing in front of me, acting coy. "George, you're awake." Willow, her hair tied in 2 braids, ran inside excitedly. She grabbed my wrist with a worried look and said, "You passed out in the fields under the sun just now." Makoto suddenly barged in as well, but his eyes went straight to Willow's hand. He quickly pulled Willow behind him, shielding her. Then he said, "Big brother, if you're awake, hurry up and get back to work. The younger ones are fighting again because no one wants to do more than their share. Even the production team couldn't stop them." Everything was exactly the same as in my past life. I didn't say a word. Could this really be fate giving me another chance? Thinking back to all the misfortunes of my previous life, it was clear there had been warning signs all along. I recalled the cold, ruthless words they said before I died. Bitterness surged up inside me, and I abandoned my usual mild temper. I scolded him. "Makoto, you're only a year younger than me. You couldn't break up their fight? You couldn't carry a little extra weight? And you need to come whining to me over such a trivial matter? Besides, weren't you just pulling and tugging at that female-educated youth? Isn't that considered being a pervert?" I was clearly talking about Makoto, but as soon as the words left my mouth, my throat tightened. In my past life, I was ruined by those very words, pervert. On my deathbed, I had mumbled, "I never did anything to her. I never wanted to cling to any of you. I only wanted to die in my hometown." The phone had long been hung up. No one heard my last words. No one cared about a disgrace like me. I had once been so full of hope. I was the only student in the whole region to get accepted into the prestigious capital university. The village celebrated with drums and firecrackers. My parents slaughtered pigs and hosted a grand feast. But Willow accused me of being a pervert, and from that moment on, I could never turn my life around. Makoto married Willow and climbed the social ladder using his well-connected father-in-law. Then he looked down on me. I died alone, and it wasn't until days later that my fellow miners discovered my body and buried me in a mass grave. That life had been so unfair. Just thinking about it made my chest tighten with rage. Makoto's voice suddenly snapped me back to reality. The scene before me was still that of the late 1970s. He frowned and asked, "Big brother, what's wrong with you? Why do you keep talking about being a pervert?" Even Willow was confused. She looked at me with teary eyes and said, "Yeah, George. You used to be so kind. Why are you suddenly acting so petty?" I had had enough. I immediately waved my hand and said coldly, "Next, are you going to tell me that suffering is a blessing? Am I just the seasoning in your little love story? Get out." After saying that, I couldn't be bothered with these 2 traitors anymore. I lay back down, ignoring them completely. Now that I had been given a second chance, I was going to live for myself this time. Why should I always give in just because I was the eldest? We were all human beings experiencing life for the first time. Why should I be the only one to suffer? Willow pursed her lips and said flatly, "George, there's nothing between us. Don't overthink it." I replied coldly, "I don't need to overthink it. The farther you both stay away from me, the better." Ignoring them, I flipped open the book by my bedside and forced myself to read despite the throbbing headache and nausea. But Makoto wasn't ready to let it go. He accused me, "Brother, what's wrong with you today? You sound like you swallowed gunpowder. But forget that for now. Are you going to take care of our younger siblings or not?" "I'm not stepping in to stop their fight. I have to study." I shot back, "Oh, so you need to study, but I don't? Get out. If they manage to beat each other to death, then I'll actually be impressed." Seeing that I wouldn't budge, Makoto let out a huff, stormed out, and slammed the door shut with enough force to shake the walls. His displeasure was obvious. Willow, on the other hand, lingered by the window, sneaking glances outside but refusing to leave. Instead, tears welled up in her eyes. She sobbed, "George, I thought you understood my feelings. The way you're treating me today, it really hurts." Her words jolted a memory from my past life. Willow had once said she would repay me in our next life. Oh, by marrying me? The thought sent a chill down my spine, and I immediately shut her down. "Don't. Let's just mind our own business. The college entrance exam is coming up soon. I don't have time for any distractions. Anyone would feel embarrassed after being rejected multiple times." Willow bit her lip, tears still in her eyes, and ran off with a soft sob. The next moment, I heard a familiar voice outside. "Oh my, what's wrong, sweetheart?" My mother stopped Willow at the door. "Don't leave, Willow. Who bullied you? Tell me, and I'll make sure they pay." Then she stepped into my room, her face dark with disapproval. "What's wrong with you? Lazing around in bed wasn't enough. Now you had to make Willow cry too." I froze, staring at her for several seconds. She looked nothing like the old, cold woman from the faded funeral portrait in my past life. It had been so many years since I had seen her looking this young and full of life. "Mom." I rushed forward and hugged her, tears streaming down my face. I had endured so much in my past life, but my mother had never been there to comfort me. Now, for the first time in years, I finally felt like a child again. But she pushed me away, and smack! A sharp slap landed across my face, its echo ringing in my ears. She scolded me, "Do you even realize what's going on? Your father is working in the factory, which makes you the pillar of this family. Your younger siblings are fighting and you do nothing. Now you've even upset Willow. You've really disappointed me." Her words completely sobered me up. It hit me, whether in my past life or this one, I had never truly received a mother's love. I asked bitterly, "Mom, am I not your child too? We all came from the same womb, so why is it always me who has to sacrifice everything?" She pointed a trembling finger at me, furious. You don't look sick at all. You have plenty of energy to argue back at me." Makoto quickly rushed to support her, patting her back as if to calm her. Of course, he didn't forget to throw fuel on the fire. "Mom, don't be upset. Big brother is getting more selfish by the day. If he keeps slacking off, how will our family earn enough work points? What will we eat and drink?" I let out a short laugh, shaking my head. "So by your logic, if I leave for college and leave you this useless waste behind, Mom, Kaito, and Maria will all starve to death." In my past life, I had stayed in this village, working hard and taking care of our parents until their final days. Yet my younger siblings only visited once a year, and my parents constantly praised them, while for me they had nothing but disdain. Mom glared at me, her voice full of anger. "College? You're the eldest. If you leave, how will this family survive? Makoto and Willow will go to the city for school. They'll support you. You just stay put and behave. Without my permission, you are not allowed to leave this village." A weight crushed my chest. I could still feel the pain of my diseased lungs from my previous life, the agony of dying in that clinic, abandoned. Of course, Mom had always been biased. In my past life, I was too ashamed after being branded a criminal to fight back. I had never challenged anything. But now that I had been reborn, I finally saw the truth. From the very beginning, I was the outsider in this family. Gritting my teeth, I sneered, "Support me? That's a load of crap. Mom, you already planned for them to get married, didn't you?" My mother's eyes flickered for a moment, and then, clearly flustered, she blushed and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? I never meant that. Who Willow likes is her own choice. How could I possibly play matchmaker? I no longer had any romantic feelings for Willow, but I wanted to know what she was really thinking. So I asked bluntly, "Willow, let's clear this up today. Just say it, who do you like?" The room fell into dead silence. In this era, discussing romance openly was almost unheard of. Willow bit her lip and hesitated. Actually... Her face turned bright red as she stammered, her eyes darting between me and Makoto. But I didn't give her any room to maneuver. Coldly, I sneered, "Heh. You just don't want to offend either of us, right? Whoever has a brighter future is the one you'll marry, isn't that it? Well then, let me make the decision for you. I'm taking myself out of the equation. I don't like you at all." My words were sharp and final, leaving Willow with no way to save face. She covered her face and bolted out of the house. Before leaving, she snapped, "Don't flatter yourself. I'm an educated youth in the countryside with a bright future ahead of me. Why would I ever like a country bumpkin like you?" Good grief! My mother clutched her thigh and wailed, throwing herself onto the floor. How did I give birth to such a heartless brute? You only think about yourself and never about your family. Husband, come back soon, or I'll die from the disgrace. But I had long since stopped falling for these theatrics. Without a word, I turned around, stepped inside my room, and locked the door behind me. The moment the lock clicked, my mother's sobs cut off abruptly. Instead, the commotion had attracted plenty of nosy villagers who were peering curiously into our yard. Makoto scowled and hissed, "Mom, do you have to make an even bigger fool of yourself? Just go break up the fight in the fields already. You're giving everyone a free show." At the sight of her beloved second son losing his patience, my mother had no choice but to scramble to her feet, dust herself off, and rush to the fields. Finally, the house was quiet again, and I could focus on my studies. At least today's mess had completely severed any lingering ties with Willow. That meant no future trouble. This lifetime, I would go to university. I would escape from this family of leeches and never look back. Just then, Mao, the village secretary, strode toward my door. When I opened it, he greeted me with a warm smile. "I heard you got heat stroke, so I brought you some medicine. Didn't expect you to be studying so diligently even while sick. Look at you, your face is pale as a sheet. You must remember, health is the foundation of revolution." Even an outsider could tell I wasn't in good shape. Yet my own mother and brother treated me as if I were just a plow ox meant to toil endlessly in the fields. Secretary Mao always said I was a bright student and often gave me books, placing great hope in me. I had always been grateful to him. But in my past life, after being labeled a pervert, I never had the courage to face him again. I straightened up and said firmly, "Thank you, Secretary Mao. I will do my best to pass the college entrance exam and bring honor to our village." My words struck a chord with him, and he patted my shoulder, visibly moved. That's the right attitude. Sacrificing a little for the greater good. Your brothers are grown now, they shouldn't be holding you back. The pre-exam selection is coming up soon, so push yourself and make us proud. Secretary Mao was a wise man. He could see my struggles. Before leaving, he even took the time to encourage me. I had to pass that selection. No way was I going to repeat my past mistakes. Still, my mother was my mother, so the next morning I resumed my work in the fields. But this time, I stopped covering for the others. If my siblings slacked off, I wouldn't earn their work points for them. At noon, the whole family gathered for lunch, sitting together with forced smiles. The moment I stepped inside, however, their expressions turned cold. My mother hadn't even saved me a proper meal, just a single, rock-hard cornbread bun. So this was what happened when you stopped being a pushover. Suddenly, you weren't just selfish. You were a threat to the entire family's well-being. I didn't argue. I simply took the bun and started heading toward my room, intending to eat while reading. But the moment I pushed open the door, Willow. She was sitting on my bed, flipping through my books. Holy crap! I yelped instinctively, backing up against the doorway. A surge of unease rushed through me. My mind flashed back to my past life, when Willow's accusations had ruined me. What if she falsely accused me again? What if she screamed that I was harassing her? I didn't even dare to step inside. Seeing my panic, Willow smiled sweetly and said, "George, I brought you an ice pop. Don't be shy, come in." She beamed at me, standing by my bed and waving me over, like a devil whispering in my ear. "I don't want it." I refused outright, my voice trembling slightly. Pointing to the door, I snapped, "Take it away right now. Save your little gestures for Makoto. Weren't you two flirting quite happily in the fields today?" I would never let myself fall into the same trap again. If Makoto wanted her, he could have her. I had no interest in someone as fickle as her. No wonder the whole family had looked at me with such contempt earlier. It turned out Willow had been in my room, and they were all just waiting for an excuse to turn against me. Willow frowned and said, "George, are you seriously this jealous? I live in your house. I'm just being considerate. I was just talking to him about wheat in the fields. Then I thought of buying you an ice pop to help cool you down. After everything you said to me yesterday, I didn't even hold a grudge against you, and yet you're still treating me like this." I despised this kind of behavior, eating from one bowl while staring at another. She was always looking for the best deal, always calculating. A female-educated youth, yet she schemed like this. I said bluntly, "I told you I don't need your kindness. Save it." Pointing at the doorway, I hardened my tone. "From now on, don't step into my room again. A single man and a single woman alone in a room. My reputation is already bad enough." Willow ran out crying again. This time I had made my stance so clear that I didn't believe she would dare cling to me any longer. But to her, my reaction only confirmed one thing: I was jealous of Makoto. Otherwise, how would I have noticed who she was talking to in the fields? Rumors had been circulating recently, saying Willow was nothing short of a temptress. She had supposedly turned the two Wong brothers against each other, making them lose focus on farming and become obsessed instead with winning her over. Whoever got into university first would earn the right to marry her. In a small village like ours, such gossip was poison. Worse, it could even affect the party's assessment of her. Willow became increasingly dejected, walking around listlessly and unable to focus on her work. One day, under the scorching sun, after I had finished my work and sat down to read, Makoto suddenly picked a fight. "Big brother, we need to talk. I think it's really unfair for you to push a female comrade into the spotlight like this." I didn't even look up as I flipped a page. Who started the rumors? We both know the answer to that. Since I had stopped picking up the slack for the family, Makoto had been forced to take on more work. That, of course, made him resentful. To vent his frustrations, he had instigated Wong's younger sister to spread rumors about Willow. Now, in the villagers' eyes, Makoto was the hard-working one, while I was selfish, only caring about my books. I smirked. "You can't outmatch me in studying, and you're not smart enough to compete fairly. So what else can you do but play dirty?" Makoto didn't get angry. Instead, he spoke as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "Big brother, just step aside. I have to get into university and marry Willow. Besides, she told me she likes me. You were never going to win against me anyway." I finally paused and looked straight at him. "Willow is yours. I only want to go to university. Whether or not you get in has nothing to do with me. If you're incapable, stop expecting others to step aside for you." Makoto could no longer contain his anger. He lunged forward, grabbed my book, and hurled it. With a wet splat, the book landed right in a pile of cow dung, completely ruined. My face darkened with fury. That book was rare study material that Secretary Mao had gone out of his way to bring me. The problems in it were ones I had never even seen before. And now, thanks to Makoto, it was gone. I grabbed him by the collar. With a sharp tearing sound, his cotton shirt ripped, stuffing his mouth with clumps of cotton fibers. Grinding my teeth, I spat, "Do I owe you all something? Did Mom and Dad have me just to be your servant? If we weren't blood-related, I'd beat you into the dirt today, Makoto." The sight of us grappling with each other stood out, especially during break time. Willow, who had been watching us closely, immediately rushed over with the rest of the production team. A loud voice shouted, "Break it up now!" It was only then that I realized I had fallen into another trap. How ridiculous! Makoto had been scheming step by step just to stop me from taking the college entrance exam. The brigade leader jabbed a finger at me and barked, "George, what the hell are you doing? Fighting your own brother over a woman? Put Makoto down this instant. You've completely embarrassed our entire team." The past few days, rumors had been flying that Makoto and I were fighting over Willow. Naturally, the brigade leader assumed this was another petty quarrel over a woman. But I remained calm. Pointing at the pile of cow dung, I said clearly, "He threw my book in there. As his older brother, I'm just teaching him a lesson. What's wrong with that?" Before the brigade leader could respond, Willow jumped in. "You've been dumping all your work on Makoto lately. His hands are covered in blisters. He's been too exhausted to study. Of course he'd be upset. And even if you get into college, I still wouldn't like you." I couldn't help but laugh. "I've already made it crystal clear, but it's like you're deaf. Who said I was going to college for you? You heard a couple of rumors and convinced yourself they were true. Stop being so self-absorbed. Even if I stay single my whole life, I'd never marry you." I let go of Makoto, then held up my hands for everyone to see. "Look at this. Calluses over calluses. Blisters over blisters. I've been cleaning up after my younger siblings for 10 whole years. He does it for 2 days, and suddenly everyone pities him." My hands were a mess, raw, cracked, and covered in scars. But these people were blind to it. The brigade leader slapped my hands away and snapped, "You still think you're in the right?" I shot back, "So being the eldest means I should just drop dead?" Silence. No one had a response. Willow had no choice but to help Makoto away. As she left, she glared at me and said, "You've really disappointed me." Good. The more disappointed, the better. Maybe now she'd finally leave me alone. A few days later, it was time for the college entrance exam pre-selection. I walked out of the test room feeling confident. Excitement bubbled inside me. I was finally going to escape this black hole of a family. But just like in my past life, I ran into trouble. A group of bandits blocked my path. "Hey buddy, got any money?" "Lend me some," one of them said. I inhaled sharply. The guy had a knife. I didn't dare make any sudden moves. "Big brother, I really don't have anything. I'm as broke as they come." The bandit eyed my empty pockets with disdain, spat on the ground, and waved me off. "TCH. Get lost." In my past life, I had let it slide. But in this life, I was younger, stronger, and no longer willing to put up with nonsense. So I pretended to leave, then suddenly spun around and slammed an elbow into the guy's ribs. He doubled over, wheezing. "Ow, stop. Don't hit me, I had no choice. My mother's starving to death, and I had nowhere else to turn." I didn't let go, still gripping his arm tightly. "How do I know you're not lying?" He led me to a nearby tree, where an old woman lay slumped against the trunk, one leg crippled, barely clinging to life. A pang of sadness hit me. I thought back to my past life, how I had died alone, abandoned, with no one to help me. Without hesitation, I pulled out all my food and ration tickets. "Feed your mother first. You're young and able, find honest work." The bandit dropped to his knees, banging his head against the ground. "Big brother. From now on, you're my blood brother. I'll go wherever you tell me, east or west. If you tell me to kill a dog, I won't even chase a chicken." I waved him off. "Enough with the smooth talk. Just live your life right, and that'll be thanks enough." Days later, my exam permit arrived. Perfect. I was sure I could still get into Capital University. On the morning of the exam, something rare happened. My mother actually woke up early and boiled an egg for each of us. A while later, she appeared at my door. "George!" She didn't dare step inside. Ever since I had been reborn, I had never given this family a warm look. Now they wanted to talk, but none of them dared to be the first to speak. Instead, they kept exchanging glances, hoping someone else would do the dirty work. Despite everything, I couldn't quite harden my heart completely. I sighed and walked over to support my mother. "What is it, Mom?" She pulled out a small embroidered sachet, delicately woven with tassels. "I sewed this myself as a blessing charm. I hope you pass the exam and get into a good university." Looking at her serious expression, I couldn't deny it. I was touched. 2 lifetimes, and I had finally received a sliver of motherly affection. I happily accepted it, hanging it around my neck. "It's beautiful. Thank you for thinking of me, Mom. I won't let you down. I'll bring honor to our Wong family." The moment the words left my mouth, her smile froze. She glanced at the dining table, but the others all kept their heads down, pretending to be busy. Finally, she stammered, "George, I have a favor to ask. For today's exam, could you switch names with Makoto? He's been exhausted from farm work lately. He really doesn't have the strength. If he takes the test, he might fail." My face turned deathly pale, and I almost lost my balance. I frowned. "Mom, are you seriously being this blatantly biased toward your second son? Am I even your real child?" She scoffed. "What kind of nonsense are you saying? A mother's love is equal for all her children. You were my firstborn. Of course I can't bear to see you leave my side. But Makoto, he's so thin and frail. What could he possibly do if he stayed in the village? Might as well send him far away so I don't have to look at him. Then you and I can stay home and live peacefully together. Wouldn't that be nice?" She put on an affectionate front with me while pretending to dislike Makoto, but that only made my heart ache even more. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I had to tilt my head up toward the ceiling to stop them from falling. I said, "Fine, Mom. Willow can have your precious second son. I only ask for the right to take the college exam. I won't ask you for a single penny for tuition or living expenses. Is that fair?" She clicked her tongue in annoyance, then yanked the charm sachet from my neck and shrieked, "If you both leave for the city, are you trying to drive me to my grave?" Then she threw herself onto the ground, wailing and rolling around like a madwoman. She slapped her thighs and screamed at the top of her lungs, blocking the doorway so I couldn't leave. This ungrateful son of mine. I raised him all these years for nothing. Hearing the commotion, Willow hurried over and helped my mother up, her tone full of blame. "George, what if you make Auntie sick from all this stress? We're all family. Does it really matter who goes to university? You're only thinking about yourself. Don't you have any sense of sacrifice?" I felt my anger rise to a boiling point as I listened to their twisted logic. I sneered. "Oh, and what gives you the right to speak on this, Willow? If you think it's so easy to sacrifice for others, why don't you switch names with Makoto instead? Give your college spot to him. You two will be married in the future anyway, right? Who takes the exam doesn't matter, as long as your future husband is the one getting the degree. That'd be even better for your reputation." Willow's face turned beet red with anger. She stomped her foot. "Why you? Don't talk nonsense. Who said I was marrying Makoto? George, you've really broken my heart. Do you even know what the village is saying about me? I'm an unmarried woman. Who's going to take responsibility for my ruined reputation?" Even now, she refused to make her stance clear. She wanted to keep both of us hanging. Calling her a temptress wasn't even an exaggeration. I replied indifferently, "Willow, whatever rumors are flying around the village have nothing to do with me. If you want someone to take responsibility, find someone else. I don't like you in the slightest. Even if you were the last woman on earth, I wouldn't spare you a glance." Willow froze. She had been called out so harshly, so bluntly, that she could hardly believe it. She had assumed I would always be at her beck and call. But now, I truly didn't want her anymore. Her face darkened. If I refused to marry her, she'd have no choice but to settle for Makoto. But Makoto was a nobody. If he didn't even make it into university, what kind of future could he possibly have? What was she supposed to do then? Just at that moment, the brigade leader, the village chief, and Secretary Mao arrived together. The brigade leader didn't hesitate for even a second. He strode forward and immediately started berating me. I could hear your mother crying from a mile away. "George, you unfilial brat. And you think you're qualified to take the National College entrance exam?" The village chief crossed his arms and added coldly, "That's right. With behavior as disgraceful as yours, even if you pass, we won't recommend you to the organization." I wasn't about to swallow this quietly. I snapped back, We live in an era where results speak for themselves. In the past, I let blind filial piety shackle me. I sacrificed everything, yet not a single person ever spoke up for me. Now that I'm finally standing up for myself, all of you suddenly have something to say? Tell me, who in the Wang family has been more dutiful than me? Silence fell over everyone. No one could answer. Seeing me argue back again and again, the brigade leader flew into a rage and made a snap decision. Fine. Then you're not leaving the village today. Let's see how you take the exam now. He turned to the village chief and said sharply, "Village chief, send Makoto and Willow instead. Get 10 strong men to guard the village entrance. I want to see how George plans on sneaking out." The moment those words landed, my mother and Willow both froze. My mother sprang up, dusted herself off, and instantly forgot about her so-called injuries. Wait, there's no need to go that far," she said hurriedly, forcing out an awkward laugh. "Brigade leader, if George doesn't go, our family won't have a college student at all." Willow panicked as well. She had only wanted me to switch names with Makoto. She had never meant to stop me from taking the test entirely. She quickly pleaded, "That's right. Auntie Wang only wanted George to swap names with Makoto, not to ban him from taking the exam." In their desperation, they blurted everything out. And just like that, their scheme was exposed. The brigade leader narrowed his bloodshot eyes. "So what's the truth? You want a college student in the family, but you don't want George to be the one who goes. You just want all the benefits for yourselves." The village chief finally understood what was happening. His face darkened. "You were planning to cheat on the exam? That's deception. That's a crime. Wang Dai saw, you've completely lost your mind. And Willow, so much for being an educated youth. Your so-called awareness is pathetic." He shook his head in disappointment, then turned to the brigade leader and said firmly, "That's it. None of them are taking the test. With conduct like this, they're unfit for higher education." The atmosphere was tense. The brigade leader had already spoken, and it wouldn't be easy to take his words back. Finally, Secretary Mao stepped forward. His voice was calm and steady. "I don't see why this has to be so complicated. All 3 of them passed the pre-selection for the college entrance exam, which means they're qualified to take it. Whoever has the ability to pass will bring honor to our village. Collective glory matters more than personal disputes. Hurry and hitch the ox cart to take them to the station. If we delay any longer, they'll really miss it." Hearing his words, my eyes burned. I hadn't flinched when everyone stood against me, but now that someone was finally standing up for fairness, a lump rose in my throat. The brigade leader and village chief, given a way to back down without losing face, decided not to block me anymore. Instead, they personally escorted us to the station. My mother still wanted to say something. Her expression was reluctant, clearly still hoping to persuade me to switch names with Makoto. But I didn't spare her even a glance. My eyes were fixed straight ahead, on the open road, the mountains, the rivers, and my future. Still, even after tearing everything apart that day, I couldn't shake a sense of unease. In this lifetime, too much had already changed. Even if I passed the exam, who was to say they wouldn't try to ruin me again? I knew them too well. They would stop at nothing to get what they wanted. For now, all I could do was take things one step at a time. No matter what, I had to keep my distance from Willow and Makoto. Unfortunately, things never went as planned. Willow still found a way to sidle back over to me. She spoke softly, "I'm sorry, George. Just now, I only spoke up because I couldn't bear to see Auntie Wang so upset. Don't take it to heart." I smirked and glanced at her sideways. "There's no need to explain. I don't care what you think. If you have time to spare, why don't you tutor Makoto instead? If he manages to pass, maybe he'll even be able to marry you." Makoto was standing nearby, watching the woman who had always treated him so gently now desperately trying to cling to me. He couldn't stand it. He sneered, "Big brother, what are you so smug about? Acting like you're guaranteed to pass." I curled my lips into a lazy smile. "Not only do I know I'll pass, I also know you're planning something shady. But you'd better think twice. If I catch you cheating, I'll make sure you end up in jail." Makoto's eyes darkened. Quit slandering me. I, Makoto, have a clear conscience. Willow quickly pulled him aside, flipping open her textbook to distract him. Let's go over this question, Makoto. Before turning away, she shot me one last pitiful glance, then lowered her head in apparent dejection. Makoto, of course, fell for it immediately and began comforting her. The exam hall was packed with students. Some looked confident, others were pale with anxiety. I had no doubt I would do even better than in my past life. After finishing the exam, I even took a detour into town to buy treats. I brought crispy rice candy for the villagers and malted milk for Secretary Mao's child. Meanwhile, Makoto and Willow wandered the streets together, gawking at everything. They even shared a single bottle of canned sugar water, completely unbothered by how embarrassing it looked. On our way back, we stopped by the factory where my father worked. We waited outside under the scorching sun for a long time before he finally emerged, walking with an air of importance. When he saw us, his face lit up, and he patted both our shoulders proudly. You brats are really something. Both of you took the college entrance exam. How'd it go? I had missed my father, so I replied warmly, I won't disappoint you. Makoto stayed silent, offering only a stiff smile. Then my father's expression turned serious. George, if you pass, what are your plans? I answered without hesitation. I'll dedicate myself to infrastructure development and serve my country. I was full of ambition. I thought he was asking out of genuine concern. He nodded approvingly. Good. Then his tone suddenly shifted. But your second brother isn't as strong as you, and he's not as smart either. If he doesn't have a good wife to support him, what's he going to do with his life? If only you two could share a little. My heart sank into an icy pit. I knew exactly what he was about to say. In my past life, after Willow accused me of being a pervert, my father had said almost the same thing. You brought this on yourself. You can't blame anyone else. You're better than Makoto in everything, but now that your political record is tainted, you won't pass the background check. Instead of wasting the college spot, why not give it to Makoto? At least our family will still have a college graduate. It was the same so-called fair compromise that had condemned me to a lifetime of injustice. I looked him straight in the eye. Dad, I am me, and he is him. I earned my place fair and square. Why should I share it with him? If I go to university, I'll have a better future. I'll contribute more, not just to our family, but to the entire country. His face darkened instantly. He scoffed. Humph. I already heard from your mother. You've been rebellious and unfilial lately. Looks like she wasn't lying. Without warning, he kicked my knee. I nearly collapsed, barely managing to kneel as pain shot through my leg. He scolded me harshly. Do you even understand a parent's heart? We don't expect either of you to be hugely successful. We just don't want one of you to live a worse life than the other. As the eldest, it's your duty to support your younger siblings. I sucked in a sharp breath. The pain made me laugh instead. Go ahead. Beat me to death. I guarantee you, if I die today, not a single one of your other 3 children will take care of you in your old age. In my past life, I had taken care of my parents until their final breath. And yet my father's dying words had been, Where's Makoto? Where's Maria? You're just an eyesore. Get out of my sight. How absurd. The more I sacrificed, the more they took it for granted. My father's rage boiled over. You little bastard. I'll beat you to death. He ripped off his shoe and swung it at my face, but it never landed. I looked up to see Willow clutching his arm, stopping him mid-swing. Uncle, don't. So many people are watching, you can't air family shame in public, she said softly. My father took a deep breath and lowered his arm. At least Willow understands proper etiquette, he muttered. The encounter ended bitterly. When we returned to the village, my earlier good mood was completely gone. Willow tried to enter my room, saying she wanted to apply medicine to my injuries. I blocked the door immediately. I appreciate the thought, but there's no need. After closing the door, I looked down at my swollen knee and let out a bitter chuckle. My father hadn't held back at all. For the next half-month, my mother, Kaito, and Maria ostracized me. They didn't even save me a bowl of hot food. Around the village, people whispered behind my back. Then the university acceptance letters arrived. I had done even better than in my past life. Everything changed overnight. Suddenly, everyone was congratulating me and singing my praises. That day, my father even took leave from work to personally cook a feast. Well, well. My brat of a son really made something of himself, the top scorer in the whole city. My mother went around bragging through teary eyes. Our family's finally seeing good fortune. What a joyous occasion! Even Willow got accepted into a university in the capital. The first thing she did was run straight to me, beaming as she held up her letter like a treasure. George, look. I did well too. Our schools aren't far apart. I can visit you all the time, and my mom can take care of us. I was in a good mood, so I just hummed casually. That alone made her eyes fill with tears. She looked at me with such adoration that she didn't even notice Makoto glaring daggers at us from behind. The villagers insisted I drink with them, and that night I was drunk on victory. It was clear to me now, academic success could change my fate. Before heading back inside, I overheard my mother whisper to my father, "Makoto failed the exam. He must be miserable. I hope he doesn't do anything rash." Our family was hosting a celebratory banquet, but Makoto had locked himself in his room, refusing to eat or drink for days. My mother glanced at me sideways and complained, "Look at your poor brother. What's he going to do now?" I replied flatly, "Since when does failing an exam make someone poor? Plenty of people don't go to college. Farming suits him just fine. It's better than wasting his life." In my past life, after I was falsely accused as a pervert, our family was assigned the worst plot of land. I had no choice but to become a miner, and that was what eventually killed me. Hearing my response, my parents exchanged a look. I was too drunk to think much of it. I stumbled into my room, eager to collapse into bed. But the moment I stepped inside, someone wrapped their arms around me from behind. A soft feminine voice whispered, "George, my father says you have the makings of a future official. Our family would be honored to have you marry me. Aren't you happy?" My eyes flew open. I sobered up instantly. Heat surged through my body, blood rushing downward uncontrollably. I shook my head violently, trying to dispel the overwhelming heat. I shoved Willow away and snapped, "Who let you in? What did you put in my drink?" In a rural village like ours, there weren't many sophisticated drugs. It was probably something meant for livestock. Willow calmly locked the door. Her exposed neck was pale as snow, glowing under the dim light, making my vision blur. She fluttered her lashes and murmured, "George, I just want to prove to you, the only man I've ever loved is you. The city is full of wonderful things. The future belongs to us. Take me tonight, and I'll be yours forever." So it was her. No wonder she had spoken with such regret in my past life, right before I died. Back then, everyone had believed I was a pervert. Willow was an educated city girl. She had a reputation to protect. So she chose to play the victim. Then, once my college spot went to Makoto, she would have no choice but to follow her parents' arrangement and marry him. Suppressing my discomfort, I tried to reason with her. "Willow, they sold you out. My parents set this up. If you don't leave now, you'll ruin both of our lives." She scoffed. "I don't believe you." With a determined look, she tugged at her collar and lunged at me again, clutching me desperately. "My reputation is already ruined because of you. I have to become your woman tonight." I was so furious that I turned my head away, struggling to break free. I spat, "If Makoto had topped the exam, you'd be throwing yourself at him right now, wouldn't you? You don't want me, you want that diploma." But Willow was completely intoxicated by the moment. This was her first time doing something like this, and her heart was pounding with excitement. She whispered, "George, you can't escape tonight. Your father, your brother, and your sister are all outside, just waiting for us to seal the deal." The moment she said that, an overwhelming sense of powerlessness washed over me. The cruelest betrayal had come from my own family. Even if I was the top scorer, I would never be their favorite. 2 lifetimes of struggle. Was this really my fate? No. I refused to accept it. Summoning all my strength, I shoved Willow away. Then I grabbed a porcelain bowl from the table and smashed it onto the ground. Crack. I picked up a shard and pressed it against my palm, dragging it across my skin. One cut. Then another. Blood dripped onto the floor. Gritting my teeth, I growled, "Is this enough? If not, I'll bleed myself dry right here." "Will that satisfy you?" Willow gasped in horror. "Why, you're bleeding." She stumbled backward, her face drained of color. The noise outside must have alarmed my father, because the next moment the wooden door was kicked open. "What the hell are you doing?" he roared. "Your body was given to you by your parents. Do you think slashing your wrists is being filial?" My hands were covered in blood, but I let out a chilling laugh. "You wanted my blood, didn't you? Here, I'm giving it all to you." I lifted my gaze, burning with rage. "Where's my acceptance letter? Give it to me." "I don't know," my father replied coldly. He had no intention of handing it over. I turned to my mother, but she avoided my eyes, shrinking behind my father. Her guilt was written all over her face. I let out a hollow laugh. "All right. All right." My voice cracked as I looked at my younger siblings, the very people I had helped raise. Through clenched teeth I spat, "You're all incredible." Ignoring my injuries, I staggered out the door. It was only then that Willow seemed to realize something was terribly wrong. Her expression cleared, and she hesitated before calling out, "George, I really didn't know." I shot her a look filled with disgust and kept running. I knew what was coming next. I had to stay awake. I couldn't let myself pass out. Panting, I pounded on Secretary Mao's door. "Secretary! Secretary, are you there? Please help me." The door creaked open. Secretary Mao appeared in his house robe and slippers, his eyes widening when he saw me. "George, wasn't tonight your celebration banquet? What happened to you?" Without hesitation, he rushed back inside and grabbed bandages, wrapping my wounds. I clutched his wrist, my voice shaking. "Secretary, no matter what my family says, please, don't believe them. You're the only one I can rely on in this village. I'll never forget your kindness. If I make it big one day, I swear I'll give back to this village." Before he could reply, a shout echoed through the village. "George ran away after assaulting a woman. He thinks just because he got into Capital University he can do whatever he wants. Hurry, catch him." Tears streamed down my face. I was a grown man, yet I was being forced to endure such humiliation. The drug in my system had weakened because of the blood loss, but my head was still throbbing and my wounds were still bleeding as I ran. I sprinted forward, but my body grew heavier and heavier, until everything went black. It was over. I was still going to be branded a pervert. Still going to be ruined. Still going to be a worthless, forgotten man. But then someone pinched the pressure point beneath my nose. "Big Brother Wong, what happened to you?" It was David, the small-time bandit I had met after the pre-exam selection. I had given his starving mother food, and he had sworn to treat me as his lifelong brother. With the last of my strength, I grabbed his hand. "Take me away. Please." All right. David didn't ask any questions. He hoisted me onto his back and ran. But in the distance, I could hear Willow screaming hysterically. "George was right. You parents really did set him up like this. He never assaulted me. Stop spreading lies. Nothing happened between us. George is a man of integrity, and I will wait for him to return." David hesitated. Even he was shaken. "Big brother," he said, slowing down. "Should we still run? That girl seems to really care about you." "No," I said firmly. "She's saying this for her own future, not for me." For the first time, my mind felt completely clear. David supported me as we disappeared into the tall grass. On the way, I asked, "What are you doing here?" He grinned. "I heard the top scorer this year was named George, so I came to congratulate you." Then he pulled out a small paper-wrapped bundle tied neatly with cotton string. "I made some peanut brittle myself. Don't look down on it." I took a trembling hand and picked up a piece, biting into the sweetness. A stranger I had only met once was genuinely happy for me, while my own family had tried to destroy my future. I didn't want to dwell on it anymore. Cutting ties with them wasn't such a big deal. Do you have work right now? I asked. David scratched his head. Yeah. I sneak goods from the city and resell them in the village. Smuggling was illegal in that era. He looked embarrassed, waiting for my judgment. But I simply said, as long as you're earning an honest living with your own hands, you're doing fine. He choked up. My mother passed away a few days ago. George, from now on, we're real brothers. I clapped him on the back. Good brother. Let me join your business. Deal. David grinned ear to ear. 1 month later, as we arrived at Capital University, I told the registrar, "Sir, my admission letter was lost. My name is George. Could you check if I can still enroll?" The staff member immediately recognized my name. Oh, the top scorer from South City. I didn't expect to meet a fellow townsman. "Yes, that's me," I said eagerly. After confirming my identity, he said, "Wait here. I'll report to the administration." Time crawled by. The setting sun bathed the campus in gold, making it even more beautiful than I had imagined. I longed to belong here. Finally, as dusk fell, the administrator returned. My heart pounded. His brow furrowed. "George, there was a problem with your background check." My blood drained from my face. Then he continued, "However, the leadership contacted your village's secretary Mao. He vouched for your integrity and insisted you're an outstanding young man. Congratulations, George. Welcome to Capital University." Before I could react, David let out a cheer and lifted me into the air. Yes. George finally made it into university. Back in Wangjia village, Mother Wang smiled as she handed Makoto a forged acceptance letter. "Hurry and get ready for school. Don't lose it." "Don't worry," she assured him. "You and your brother look similar enough. Just say your name is George." Makoto hugged her tightly. "Mom, you're the best." She beamed. Who else would I be good to? As for that unfilial brat George, without an acceptance letter, he'll crawl back to farm. Makoto frowned. But Secretary Mao stood up for him. And Willow keeps saying he didn't assault her. Father Wang clapped his shoulder. Bury that thought and never mention it again. Willow's just a woman. How could she dare speak up? Besides, you're the one going to Capital University now. Do you think she won't come around? Today was the day Willow and Makoto left for the city. Makoto reached for her hand eagerly. "Willow, let's go together." She flung his hand away in disgust. "Don't touch me." On the journey, Makoto offered peach preserves. Willow knocked the can away, syrup splattering his clothes. "Your brother's missing," she snapped. "And you're stealing his university spot like nothing happened." Makoto sulked. "You've always liked him better." At the university gate, Makoto handed over the letter. "Hello, sir. I'm George." The registrar crossed his arms. "George already checked in 3 days ago. So who are you?" Willow's eyes lit up. "George is alive," she demanded. "Call him out." When the officer returned, he announced, "George is confirmed. And you, Makoto, trying to steal your brother's admission. Shameless." A crowd gathered. Willow stood frozen. Everything was finally exposed. All of them were students who had earned their places through their own hard work, and they looked at Makoto with nothing but disdain. Someone trying to cheat their way into university deserved only contempt. Makoto was humiliated beyond measure. In a surge of anger, he kicked the base of the wall, only to cry out when his toe slammed painfully into it. His face turned a deep purple, yet he didn't dare make a sound. He was nothing more than a pitiful excuse for a man. Still, he clenched his teeth and cursed loudly. What's so great about him? He abandoned his family just to get into university. And this is the kind of selfish person Capital University accepts? George, come out here. If you have any guts, face me and explain why you're such a heartless bastard. The admissions officer shot him a sharp glare. That's enough. I suggest you stop causing trouble immediately. But driven by desperation, Makoto hurled his bag to the ground and shouted, "Why should I stop? George is a pervert. He almost raped Willow, and he knows it. You're protecting a criminal. Capital University is sheltering a rapist. Where's the justice in that? Smack. A loud slap echoed through the air. Willow had struck Makoto across the face, stunning everyone present. She never imagined he would shout about that incident in front of so many people. Her voice trembled with rage. What are you saying? You're making things up. Nothing like that ever happened between George and me. Makoto's cheek burned red as he gasped for breath. His eyes blazed with fury. You hit me. I was speaking up for you. And you're still defending him. Willow bit her lip. She had no way to explain the truth. How could she admit that the real culprit had been livestock heat drugs? She would rather die of shame. At that moment, the admissions officer stepped in front of her protectively. Don't be afraid, Miss Willow. Capital University is already aware of the situation. Both you and George are innocent. We have reported everything to the authorities. The police will handle this. Capital University wasn't far from the police station. Within 30 minutes, officers arrived and immediately grabbed Makoto, snapping handcuffs onto his wrists. You little punk, one officer scoffed. Already stirring up trouble at your age. You're coming with us. Makoto struggled wildly. Why are you arresting me? If anyone should be arrested, it's George. He's the real criminal. No one listened. He was dragged away, still screaming and thrashing. The crowd gradually dispersed, murmuring among themselves. Willow remained standing there, staring at the university entrance. The admissions officer noticed her hesitation. Do you still need something? He asked. She hesitated, then finally spoke. Sir, what was George's reaction when he heard I was here? The officer let out a faint, disdainful chuckle. So you're Willow. He already guessed you'd come. His exact words were, the clever outsmart themselves. There's always a mountain higher than the last. She should learn her lesson and move on. Willow's heart sank. She had truly lost him. When George had liked her, he saved his white bread buns just for her. He traded his eggs to buy her a fresh flower to wear. And how had she repaid him? She had noticed that the Wong family favored Makoto and treated George as expendable. So she played her game, balancing between the two brothers. She wanted George's talent but feared that Makoto was the one most likely to escape the countryside. In the end, Wong mother had used her own hunger for status against her, ruining her reputation and cutting off every possible path forward. She thought she had been clever. But who was the real fool? One thing was certain, she would never return to that village. As long as Makoto didn't drag her down, she could still start over. No one in the city knew about her disgraceful past. She had been so close to George. If she stayed near him, they were bound to meet again. Besides, her family had deep connections in the city. George was just a poor rural boy. How could he resist the future she could offer? Before she could act on that thought, reality struck her back, literally. A sharp pain exploded across her skin as a belt lashed down. Her father, Lou, stood over her, his face twisted in rage. Willow, look at the mess you've made. That damn Makoto got himself thrown in jail, and now the police are questioning me because of you. The belt came down again across her arm. Willow cried out in pain. I'll beat some sense into you. Lou roared. What kind of girl drugs a man? Where is your shame? Willow was completely stunned. How did her father find out? What nonsense had Makoto been spewing in that cell? The beating left her bedridden for nearly a week. By the time she could get up, the semester had already started, and she hadn't attended a single class. Willow, have some porridge, Lou mother said gently as she entered the room with a tray. You must be exhausted after spending so much time in the countryside. It hurts me to see you like this. Willow turned away, resentment written across her face. I don't need your pity. Everything that happened is your fault. If not for you, George and I would have been perfect together. How did I end up like this? Lou mother covered her mouth and sobbed, regret flooding her face. She had been selfish. She had taught Willow to manipulate men, to keep both brothers within reach while waiting to see who had the brighter future. But she had no choice. Lu's father had watched her every move. Sending Willow to the countryside had been their only option. Returning home had always depended on one thing: passing the college entrance exam. And after that, Willow was expected to marry someone acceptable. A factory worker or peasant was never an option. That was why they had gone to such extremes. Lu's mother wiped her tears. "Don't worry. Your father may be harsh, but he won't abandon you. We owe George an apology. Your father has connections. We can get him a government job. Once he sees what we can do for him, he'll forgive you." Willow's eyes lit up. "Really?" "Yes. As long as you insist you had nothing to do with Makoto's incident, everything will be fine." Meanwhile, Makoto endured endless late-night interrogations in prison. He screamed the same accusation over and over, until an officer slammed the table. "Show evidence. Produce a witness. Otherwise, this is slander, and we'll add defamation." Desperate, Makoto blurted out the only name he had left. "Willow from C University. She'll testify." The officer shook his head. "She already stated nothing happened." Makoto was left alone. No family. No friends. Days passed. Hungry. Exhausted. Finally, he broke. "My parents, they drugged him with livestock heat medicine," he whispered. The dosage was heavy. The officers were disgusted. "You drugged your own brother." Makoto went pale. "If my parents find out I talked, they'll kill me." "If George forgives you, you might still have a chance," the officer replied coldly. Makoto cried for days, waiting for someone to bail him out. Instead, an officer returned with a document. "Capital University refuses any apology. And Miss Willow's father is a city official." Makoto collapsed, losing control of his bladder. "Mom. I want my mom." The Wang family rushed to the city. Wang's mother wailed when she saw him. "This ungrateful beast of an older brother." Another summons was issued, this time for me. My mother blocked the police station entrance. When she saw me, she clawed at my uniform, ripping a button off. "You got your brother thrown in jail." I said calmly, "I'm here to sign the forgiveness statement." My father punched me twice. "Hurry and sign." I turned. "Apologize first." An officer restrained him. My mother panicked. "Fine. I'm sorry, George." Makoto bowed. "Big brother." "I'm sorry," I said hoarsely, louder. This was the apology I waited for across 2 lifetimes. As we left, my siblings glared. Kaito muttered, "He won't get away with this." At Capital University, for the first time in both lives, I felt alive. David pressed money into my hand. Then Maria and Kaito appeared, dragging a banner that read, "George is a heartless, ungrateful beast unworthy of being human." They hung it at the gate. "What do you want now?" I asked. Maria sneered. "Our parents fell sick because of you." "They got sick because of Makoto," I replied. She spat. "Liar." Kaito suddenly lunged and bit my arm. I clenched my fists. Most of the students here came from prestigious backgrounds. My name had already become a topic of gossip, making me stand out for all the wrong reasons. Just as I was about to grab Kaito by the scruff and pry him off, a group of men in mouse suits and white gloves suddenly stormed in. Without hesitation, they tore down the banner and threw it straight into the trunk of a black car. One of them seized Maria by the arm and dragged her toward the vehicle. She screamed and thrashed wildly. "Let me go!" But the man was built like a tank. No matter how hard she kicked or struggled, it was useless. At the same time, another white-gloved man clamped his fingers around Kaito's jaw and forced his mouth open, making him release my arm. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed the boy into the car like a sack of potatoes. Then, stepping out of the car with effortless grace, Willow appeared. She smiled sweetly, looking thoroughly pleased with herself. "George, I've arranged for them to be sent back to the village," she said. "Now you can focus on your studies in peace." I stared at her, unsure how to respond. I didn't want to owe Willow anything. I answered coolly, "No need. Just drop them and my parents at the bus station." "I don't want to trouble you." Willow gave me a light, knowing smile. "It's no trouble at all," she said casually. "Besides, I appreciate you clearing Makoto's charges. If not, I might have been dragged into the mess too." She giggled softly. "I knew it, George. You still care about me." I turned away, ready to leave. But Willow suddenly rushed forward and grabbed my sleeve. "Let me take you out for dinner," she said brightly. "My father really admires you. Why don't you come to my house?" I cut her off immediately. "No need. I could never climb up to your level." I rejected her publicly, humiliating her in front of everyone. Yet she didn't seem fazed at all. Instead, she smiled and stepped toward me again. "George, don't go. Wait for me." Just as she tried to follow, a hand shot out and blocked her path. It was David. He stood between us, staring Willow straight in the eye. "Miss Liu," he said flatly, "back then you played the princess, sitting high above and choosing between the Wang brothers like they were entertainment. But now George wants nothing to do with you. Isn't that only fair?" Willow's face flushed red with anger. You. Only then did she realize that although David wasn't highly educated, he was no fool. Her plan to worm her way back into George's life had failed. She bit her lip, fists clenched at her sides. "I won't give up on him," she declared stubbornly. "George belongs to me." But I didn't look back. I left her standing there, fuming, as I walked toward my new life. George soon disappeared from sight, but Willow wasn't ready to give up. She still had unfinished business with the Wang siblings. If she could deal with them properly, she believed she might earn some favor in my heart. The next day, something unexpected happened. A girl with voluminous curls, dressed in a pale blue cheapao, stepped out of a Volga GAZ car. She moved with elegant, unshakable poise, not sparing anyone around her a single glance. I murmured under my breath, "Anna." I had known her in my past life. She had once been an official who came to our village for poverty alleviation. I never imagined that in this lifetime we would become classmates. Her faint scent lingered in the air as she passed by, leaving me standing there in a daze. At first, I thought she would be approachable. I couldn't have been more wrong. Anna was our class president, sharp, authoritative, and utterly intimidating. No one dared to cross her. One day, after skipping half a class to handle some side business, I was caught red-handed. Anna immediately marched up to the lecturer, ready to report me and dock my credits. I hurriedly pleaded with her. "Sue, can't you let this slide just once? I really had something urgent to do." She rolled her eyes and adjusted her glasses. "What kind of emergency justifies wasting your youth?" she shot back, cold and methodical. I had no argument against her logic. But the problem was, this wasn't something I could avoid. I kept skipping minor classes to run my business. At night, I studied until exhaustion just to keep up. Eventually, I collapsed during gym class. Anna noticed. And one day, after another absence, she decided to follow me in secret. She tailed me all the way to Shoshue Market. What she saw left her stunned. I was sitting on a tricycle with David, riding straight into the bustling marketplace. Our cart was packed with Southern electronics, books, magazines, and clothing. We sold everything. I stood in front of our stall, cheerfully calling out, "Take a look, everyone! A poor student working hard to make ends meet. Have a heart and support me." David, meanwhile, was a master salesman. He could read customers like a book, picking out potential buyers with uncanny precision. Smiling at a well-dressed woman, he said, "Miss, a person's taste is reflected in their books. This one suits you perfectly." Our stall buzzed with activity. It was easily the liveliest one in the market. Watching from the side, Anna finally understood. I wasn't fooling around. I was working to support myself. But since Capital University provided generous stipends, she still couldn't understand why I was pushing myself this hard. She stormed over to our stall. "George!" she shouted, drawing everyone's attention. I turned stiffly. Anna stood there with her arms crossed, her presence commanding the entire marketplace. "You've been skipping class just to run a stall. Do you have any shame?" I sighed, defeated. "Sorry, Sue. My family's poor. I didn't have any other choice." She huffed. unimpressed. At least you admit it. But I am docking your credits. I groaned. I had hoped for a little sympathy. Clearly, I had misjudged her. But then she paused. Where do you even get all these products? She asked, her sharp eyes scanning our goods. You have a keen eye for market trends. To my shock, she crouched down and began picking items from our stall. What are you doing? I asked, bewildered. I'm buying some things for my mother and sister, she said casually. I quickly grabbed a stool and offered it to her. Sue, you should sit. She waved it off dismissively and continued inspecting the goods. Then she said something that made my head spin. Running a stall is too time-consuming and inefficient. You have good products and a solid grasp of trends. Instead of retail, why don't you start wholesaling? I had thought about it before. But as a student, I had no capital or connections. And in this era, private business was still risky. Most people didn't dare to try. I hesitated. I don't have the startup funds yet. Anna smiled knowingly. I'll invest in you. David's eyes widened. He squeezed past me eagerly. Miss Sue, that's so generous. How could we possibly accept? Anna chuckled and shook her head. Do you think I'm doing charity? She casually twirled a finger in the air before laying down her terms. I take 60% of the profit. You two split the remaining 40%. I provide the money. You do the work. I hesitated. The ratio wasn't great, but the hardest part was always the initial capital. This was an opportunity one couldn't afford to miss. I grinned. Deal. David and I will head south in a few days to scout the market. Anna raised a hand. Wait. I have one condition. She folded her arms. George, you are not allowed to miss a single class. If you do, I'll withdraw my investment immediately. I froze. How was I supposed to balance both? It seemed impossible. Before I could object, David clapped my shoulder confidently. No worries, big bro. You focus on studying. Just tell me what products we need. I'll handle the market runs. A wave of warmth washed over me. Since leaving my village, everyone I had met had been a blessing. David stood by me through everything. Anna, in her own unyielding way, helped me while protecting my pride. That night, I treated Anna to ice cream. We walked back to campus, chatting more naturally than ever. I had to admit, it felt pleasant talking to her. But as soon as we reached the dormitory, I saw a familiar figure desperately questioning my dorm mates. Do you know which dorm George stays in? Is George here? It was Willow. No matter how many times Willow called Capital University or sent letters, I never responded. In my past life, she had falsely accused me. In this life, she had drugged me with livestock heat medicine. Did she really think she had any right to keep chasing after me? Without realizing it, I clenched my fists so tightly that the fabric of my trousers wrinkled beneath my grip. At some point, Anna doubled back and whispered in my ear, "It's dinner time. Let's go to the cafeteria together." At the table, I ate in silence, head down, focused only on shoveling food into my mouth. Anna suddenly laughed. "George, you're eating the bone I already chewed on." I froze. Damn it. I swallowed awkwardly and apologized at once. Sorry. Honestly, I felt like I didn't even deserve to eat her leftovers. Before I could recover, "George!" Willow's shrill voice cut through the cafeteria like a knife. I snapped my head up. She was storming toward us, face red with anger. She jabbed a finger straight at Anna. "How can you let him eat your leftover bones?" I rubbed my temples, a headache already forming. "Do I owe you an explanation?" I snapped. "Of course you do." Willow huffed. "Before you went to university, you were my fiancé, and now you're sneaking around with another woman." Tears welled up in her eyes as she played the victim. Anna hesitated briefly, then coolly brushed Willow's hand aside. "I'll leave you two to talk." With that, she turned and walked out, not wasting another second on the drama. My vision darkened with anger. I had no idea how to deal with this parasite anymore. I hissed through clenched teeth, "Willow, stop spouting nonsense. I swear to the heavens, Neither in this life nor the last have I ever been in a relationship with you. If I'm lying, may I die a miserable death." A heavy silence fell. Even Anna, who was about to leave, paused at the door. Whispers spread around us. "Wait, so George isn't dating that girl who's always looking for him? I thought they were together too." "That's great news. I still have a shot." Willow's face burned. Surrounded by stares, her stubbornness flared. "If you don't care about me, what about your family?" she demanded. "Makoto is retaking his exams, your younger siblings have to work the fields, and your mother cries herself to sleep every night. I'm the one keeping them from causing trouble for you." I frowned. I had been sending home 30 yuan every month. That should have been more than enough. "I've been sending money," I said flatly. "Why would they need anything from you?" Willow crossed her arms smugly. "Oh, money," she sneered. "And who's supposed to do the work? Money can't plow fields." She waited for my gratitude. Instead, I scoffed. "Don't use this to tie me down. From now on, I don't need your help. If Makoto can't farm, let the fields go barren. If my parents need money, I'll keep sending it. And if they came looking for me," I pointed toward the nearby police station, "I'll be happy to send them right back to jail." The cafeteria erupted in applause. A professor nodded approvingly. "Well said. That's how a real man should act." A classmate chimed in, using family guilt to pressure him. "That's manipulative." Willow stood frozen, utterly speechless. For the next 4 years, she never stopped chasing me. Eventually, it wasn't just Capital University. Even students from nearby schools knew about her obsession. People began betting on whether she'd ever succeed. Somehow, Willow herself started believing the rumors, convinced this was our love story, just a girl chasing a reluctant boy. Life moved on. In our graduation photo, Anna stood in the center, radiant and striking. I stood at the very edge, yet somehow still stood out. That night, at our farewell banquet, everyone drank a little too much. A classmate grinned at me. "George, you've been glued to Anna for 4 years. Are you finally going to marry into her family?" Another laughed. "Yeah, marrying her is basically a shortcut to political success." Anna laughed lightly, unfazed. "Oh, please. Stop teasing me. My family's just normal people, we can't afford rumors." She said it casually, but I noticed the glance she stole toward me. I didn't respond. Instead, I raised my glass. "To everyone," I said, draining it in one gulp. "I come from a poor background, but I've been fortunate to have your friendship. If you ever need my help, just ask." I meant every word. I was grateful to all my classmates, but most of all, to Anna. She had supported my education, invested in my business, and protected my dignity at every step. Because of her, I graduated smoothly, secured a job placement, and became a successful entrepreneur on the side. In my past life, I could never have imagined such fortune. A rare person is like a rainbow. You only understand their worth once you've seen them. But a rainbow is something you can only admire from afar. It's not something you can reach. Anna must have sensed it. She looked at me, her eyes dimming slightly, then let out a quiet sigh. After graduation, everyone went their separate ways. As an outstanding student, I was given priority in job selection and joined the mining management office. Anna, on the other hand, chose a position in my superior department. She warned me, "Old classmate, let me remind you, once you join the office, you can't run any small businesses on the side anymore. Be careful not to give people something to talk about." I nodded. "Understood. Thanks for the reminder, Squad Leader Sue." She playfully punched my shoulder. "I'm not your squad leader anymore." I laughed. "All right then. After delivering this document to you, I have to rush back to my department and work my tail off." There were plenty of privileged young heirs in our office, but I was the only one who had gotten in purely through ability. Naturally, I was the one asked to do everything and answer every question. Yet when it came to real opportunities to shine, I was never chosen. Whenever benefits were distributed, I always received the worst share. Even my desk was placed right next to the restroom, and there was no one to complain to. In my past life, I dug mines. In this life, I worked in an upper unit, but I never expected office politics to be just as exhausting as coal mining. Anna saw everything clearly. She told me, "George, you're too honest and straightforward, and you don't have any background. You have to keep your temper in check. One day, you'll make it." Her words became a golden rule to me. I nodded. Got it. On my way back, I kept replaying Anna's expressions and gestures in my mind. She was always radiant, like a guiding star in my life. Yet I never dared to reach out for her. "Leader, this is Comrade Willow from the neighboring department. She's here to see little Wong." As soon as I stepped into the office, I saw Willow sitting there. Like a lingering ghost, she simply wouldn't go away. My mood sank instantly, but since we were at work, I forced a polite smile. "Comrade Lou, hello." We shook hands, but she held on far too long. The emotions in Willow's heart were even stronger than before. George, with his neat haircut and standing collar uniform, exuded authority. He was never meant to remain insignificant. I had to forcefully pull my hand back before she finally let go. "Let's go outside to talk," Willow said. Even though I knew I was walking straight into a den of wolves, I had no choice but to follow. I began, "Comrade Lou, about this batch of supplies." Before I could finish, she suddenly wrapped her arms around me in a small grove. "George, I miss you so much. You won't even see me once. Back in school, we used to spend so much time together." Startled, I quickly pushed her away, terrified that a coworker might see and misunderstand. "What are you doing? I told you long ago, I don't like you. Why are you so stubborn?" Willow gazed up at me, her confidence only growing. She bit her lip. "Don't you realize that in the workplace, you can't move an inch without connections? My father has influence. He can help you." Back in college, many privileged young men had pursued her, but the only one she had set her heart on was George. She continued, "You were the top student, yet now you're dealing with wholesale trade like a street vendor. Do you know how much that breaks my heart? If you marry me, you'll be like a son to my father. You'll never have to worry about not having a place to showcase your talents." I closed my eyes briefly, then firmly pushed her away. "Enough. Have you said enough? Please stay out of my life. Do I have to call the police to make you stop?" Willow froze in shock. She had thought the offer was irresistible, that I would never refuse. If it were Makoto, he would have already been licking her feet in gratitude. Furious, Willow lunged forward without thinking and forcefully kissed me. I was caught completely off guard. A shiver ran through my entire body. "You're insane. Willow, do you have no shame?" I shoved her away, spitting and wiping my mouth in disgust. But Willow only tightened her grip around my waist, her face filled with a young girl's infatuation. "George, as long as you're in the capital, you'll never escape my grasp." I felt suffocated, my mind on the verge of collapse. Then a voice rang out, accompanied by a chuckle. "Well, well. George, is this your girlfriend?" A figure stepped out from behind the trees. It was Martin. He looked sleazy but was well-connected. Once, he had tried to approve an illegal mining deal, and I had stopped him in time. Ever since, he had held a grudge against me. "No," I started to say. Before I could finish, Willow eagerly introduced herself. "Yes, I'm his girlfriend. We've known each other since childhood." Martin, ever the loudmouth, bellowed, "Hey everyone, come take a look." They were making out. Willow hadn't expected things to turn out like this and immediately panicked. My section chief and director rushed over. The director smirked. "George, you really are popular with the ladies. Yesterday it was Miss Sue, today it's Miss Lou." The section chief frowned. "Getting involved in workplace romance, what kind of image do you think you're giving off?" Caught red-handed, I could only accept the scolding. "I'm sorry. It was my fault." Only then did Willow realize she had caused trouble again. But unlike with me, she had no patience for them. She scoffed. "Fault? Do you even know who my father is? You'd better show George some respect." That ignited my anger. I was a man. If I needed a woman to speak up for me, what dignity would I have left in the office? "Willow, get lost," I barked. She stared at me in disbelief. She was trying to help me, So why was I lashing out at her? Who do you think you're talking to? The surrounding leaders were equally stunned. They knew Miss Lu had powerful connections, but they never expected me to put her in her place. I told you to get the hell out. Are you deaf? I shouted again. Furious and on the verge of tears, Willow stormed into her car. She had half expected me to chase after her, but when she turned around, I was already gone. Sitting in the car, she replayed everything in her mind until a sudden thought struck her. Who was this Miss Sue? She ordered her driver, Tom, to investigate whether there was a woman named Sue around George. After a long search, he finally reported, back in university, George's class monitor was named Anna Sue. She's someone we can't afford to mess with. Willow frowned. Can't afford to mess with? She wasn't convinced. She remembered having once eaten with Anna and George during university. It was hard to believe there was anyone she couldn't touch. No matter how powerful Anna was, she hadn't actually done anything for George. Willow was the one helping him. She was the one who deserved to be his girlfriend. Contact George's superior, she instructed. Give him a little nudge. He's just a commoner. No matter how smart he is, he doesn't understand networking. Once he starts receiving real benefits, he'll realize the importance of having the right people around. A few days later, my desk was suddenly moved away from the restroom. My boss even started treating me with unusual respect. I went from being overwhelmed with work to having nothing to do, sitting idle all day. Suspicious, I headed to the cafeteria. Martin slid into the seat beside me with his tray and sneered, "George, enjoying your sugar mommy's favors? What the hell are you talking about?" I demanded. The next second, Martin flipped my tray onto the table, food splattering all over me. Gritting his teeth, he growled, "Don't play dumb. I'm doing all your work now, all because your dear Miss Lu pulled some strings for you." My face burned with rage. What does she have to do with this? Martin laughed mockingly. "Oh, come on. With your looks, freeloading is a waste. You'd make a perfect-kept boy." That was the final straw. I threw a punch. "Screw you." One punch after another, I released every ounce of frustration bottled up inside me. But I knew exactly what I was doing. I had lived 2 lives. I wasn't ruled by impulse. My ambitions had nothing to do with this job. I felt suffocated, manipulated like a puppet on strings. If I couldn't break free, I might as well walk away. By the time I stopped, Martin couldn't even stand. I went straight to my superior's office and submitted my resignation. The leader looked troubled. "I'm afraid Miss Lu won't agree to this." I scoffed. "I don't care what she agrees to. Is she going to hold me here by force?" Walking out of the office, I had never felt lighter. With my Zhongshan suit draped over my shoulders, I tilted my head back and looked at the deep blue sky. David was waiting at the entrance, leaning against his battered van. He whistled when he saw me. I clapped him on the shoulder. "Let's go have a drink. I'm officially unemployed." He sighed. "Brother, you were meant for greater things." I shook my head. I was always meant to go into business. I just spent 2 extra years in school. I had once dreamed of changing the world, of returning to my hometown to prove my parents wrong. But reality was different. I couldn't escape office politics or social games. All I really wanted was for Willow to leave me alone. The van rattled to life, cargo clanking in the back. "David," I said, "trust me. Anyone who goes into business now, even a pig, will be making money in a few years." Before I finished speaking, a Volga GZ pulled up in front of us. Anna stepped out, her trench coat billowing in the wind, her hair flowing like a painting. "Where do you think you're going?" she asked. "I'm holding on to your resignation for now. Don't do anything stupid." Anna had always been meticulous. As someone from my superior unit, she naturally saw my resignation. A job like this was an iron rice bowl. In the early 1980s, only an idiot would quit. She knew I had been suppressed, but who hadn't gone through this? She thought it was a trial meant to toughen me up. I usually seemed broad-minded, so why was I acting impulsively now? "Squad Leader Sue," I said, "you don't need to say anything. I'm very clear-headed. I don't play political games, and I refuse to accept unwritten rules. What suits me is working for myself." Hearing this, Anna's furrowed brows relaxed. She knew she hadn't misjudged me. Every step I took was deliberate. Willow had ruined my future. I would never forgive her. Anna nodded. "All right. Since you've thought it through, you're going drinking, right? Count me in." I hesitated. I wanted to spend time with her, but was it appropriate? David, shameless as ever, waved it off. "Let's go. My treat." He yanked open the van door. I nearly lost my mind. Was he really letting Anna ride in this wreck? In the back with cargo? Anna stayed silent for 10 seconds. Even the driver frowned. Helpless, I spread a magazine over the seat. "Sit in front." She smiled faintly. "All right." We rattled our way to a state-run restaurant. David spared no expense. Anna, the only daughter of a military family, could drink exceptionally well. Soon, both David and I were completely drunk. Anna was tipsy too. With David passed out, she leaned in and kissed me. I froze. How could I deserve this? I knew she saw me differently, but how could I ever match her? She rolled her eyes. "George, you're such a coward." Through the haze, I stared at her beauty, afraid to look directly. I hesitated, then pulled back. "Give me 5 years. If I kiss you now, I really would be a coward." To my surprise, she glared. "I'm not waiting. Answer me now." The door suddenly slammed open. Willow burst in screaming, "George, are you insane? I worked so hard to pave the way for you, and you ruined it all." Then she saw the lipstick mark on my face. She froze, then shrieked, "You too, you're fooling around here." That word again. It had ruined my past life. Nearly ruined this one too. I snapped, "If you have something to say, say it to me. What does Anna have to do with this? Do you just love ruining people's reputations?" I felt a surge of anxiety. What if Anna misunderstood? Willow, on the other hand, was nearly choking with frustration. She couldn't understand why, after chasing George from the countryside to the city for so many years, he was still indifferent to her. Worse still, he was now defending another woman right in front of her. Anna curled her lips into a faint smirk. "Enough. You two clearly can't communicate." She turned her gaze to me. "George, wait outside. This is a conversation between women." And just like that, I was pushed out. Only Anna and Willow remained inside. Willow suddenly felt uneasy. When I had been present, she could yell and jump around however she pleased. But now, Anna sat calmly with one leg crossed over the other, arms folded, radiating an overwhelming sense of authority. It made Willow hesitate to even open her mouth. Anna didn't bother with pleasantries. She went straight to the point. "Willow, what will it take for you to leave George alone?" Willow's voice sharpened, her expression incredulous. "Leave him alone?" She scoffed. "I'm trying to make it up to him. Back then, because of me, he was used by others and almost couldn't get into university." Anna nodded. "I know about that. But if you really want to make it up to him, shouldn't he have a say in whether he wants it or not? Willow, when you were sent to the countryside, didn't you learn how to keep your head down? And now that you're back in the capital with a little power, you've forgotten." That struck a nerve. Those years had been the most humiliating period of Willow's life, one she wished she could erase entirely. She frowned. "Anna, you seem to know a lot about me." Anna took a bite of her food and replied calmly, "Of course. If I want a man, I make sure I know his history." Willow sneered. "Then what makes you any different from me? You're just as high and mighty. What are you pretending for?" Anna responded smoothly, without missing a beat. "The difference is that I only want to understand him. You want to control him. To you, he's just some country boy. You think being interested in him is already doing him a favor. But I respect his choices, recognize his talents, and I'm willing to wait for him to grow into someone who can stand beside me as an equal." Willow's face twisted. She was completely at a loss for words. Outside, I heard everything. If even a woman like Anna couldn't move my heart, I couldn't imagine anyone else ever would. I watched as Willow flung the curtain aside and fled. Anna, on the other hand, walked out slowly, glancing at me with a knowing look. She had settled things with Willow. But as for what I owed Anna, she still hadn't gotten her answer. I didn't want to keep avoiding it anymore. I looked her in the eye and said with complete sincerity, "Give me 3 years to build my business, Anna. I won't let you down." I stretched my hand out to her. Anna smiled and playfully slapped my palm, nodding. "All right. It's a deal." That night, Willow tossed and turned, unable to sleep. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. Why did George treat her like a piece of clingy tape he couldn't wait to tear off? And why was he so afraid of Anna misunderstanding something between them? What made Anna so much better than her? She was even more arrogant. At least Willow had actually helped George, yet he refused to appreciate it. Anna only needed to say a few smooth words, and suddenly he was ready to dedicate his life to her. Ring, ring, ring. The phone suddenly rang. When Willow picked up, she realized it was Makoto calling from a public phone. His voice on the other end was full of grievance. "Willow, why haven't you written to me in so long? I go to the village entrance every day hoping to see a letter from you." The sound of his voice instantly irritated her. She snapped, "If you're wasting time at the village entrance, then who's harvesting? It's the busiest season. Why are you slacking off?" Makoto sounded even more pitiful. "Do I have to live my whole life for them? Secretary Mao told me everything. My brother got into the mining bureau, and here I am with nothing. Pathetic." The poorer a person was, the more they clung to resentment. His mindset had completely stagnated. Willow had no patience for this. The two brothers were as different as heaven and earth. She replied coldly, "And what does that have to do with me? You're a failure because you chose to be one. Who else can you blame?" Makoto's voice suddenly turned nasty, filled with resentment. "Willow, my mother always said that if only you had told everyone my brother was a thug back then, I could have gotten into Capital University and landed a stable job. We could have been married by now." Willow burst out laughing as if she had just heard the joke of the century. "This is my fault? Your mother is just as twisted as you. Be grateful I never reported either of you." Makoto, now completely shameless, said, "If you don't help me, I'll come to the capital and make a scene." That was the problem with desperate people. No fear, no sense of consequences. Willow knew she couldn't afford to provoke him. But then an idea formed in her mind. She said sweetly, all right, I'll take you to your brother. Let your mother talk some sense into him and convince him not to throw away his future." So many years had passed. Surely George wasn't still angry at his family. If she could reunite them, George would have to be grateful to her. And maybe then, he would finally marry her. A few days later, I officially finalized my resignation and prepared to leave for the South with David. Anna came specifically to see me off. She said, "Don't forget, when you need investors, count me in. I'll buy a share." I understood. She was worried I'd run into financial trouble and struggle. The thought filled me with indescribable gratitude. If liking someone was what Willow did, relentless, manipulative, refusing to let go, then loving someone was what Anna did. She let me run free and only wished for me to soar. I smiled. "All right. If I ever need funding, I won't hesitate to ask you." But we both knew I never would. I was determined to build something of my own, to stand shoulder to shoulder with Anna as an equal. And so I left. Quietly. Anna struggled to adjust to life without me. Back in school, she used to chase after me when I skipped class. Later, when I started doing business, she would receive her share of the profits, watching me grin as I counted the bills. She had caught me secretly watching her from behind and even discovered the many sketches I had drawn of her, though I always assumed she never noticed. That was what made George intoxicating. And yet, just as Anna turned around, she saw Willow standing at the door of my rented apartment, dragging my entire family behind her. Wang's mother called out loudly, "George! George! It's your mother. Come out and see me." Wang's father spat angrily, "Humph! That ungrateful brat. After all these years, all he's done is send a bit of lousy money. Who cares about that?" They banged on the door repeatedly, but there was no response. Makoto hovered around Willow like an annoying fly. Are you sure my brother lives here? You're not lying to us, are you? Rolling her eyes in disgust, Willow replied. Of course. He's on suspension today. If he's not home, where else would he be? She glanced at Makoto with disdain, wishing she could get as far away from him as possible. Years of farm labor had left him dark-skinned, rough, and prematurely aged. She wondered what she had been thinking back then, how she could have ever compared him to George. She shouted toward the door, "George, open up! Look who's here! Your parents have missed you so much!" She kept knocking, but there was still no sound. Then a cold voice cut through the air. "He's gone." Willow stiffened. Only then did she realize Anna had been watching the entire time. She turned sharply. "What are you doing here? Where did George go?" Anna stood tall, her high heels making her tower over Willow. "Didn't you drive him away? What man can endure being called a freeloader?" Willow refused to believe it. That's nonsense. Why would he throw away such a great future? In Willow's world, she couldn't comprehend George choosing his own path over stability. Anna had said enough. She turned and walked away. Willow stood frozen, left behind with the raging Wong family. Makoto asked sharply, "Did you really force my brother to leave?" Wong's mother snapped, "Don't talk nonsense. My son George was the top scholar. He had a government job. Why would he ever be a freeloader?" "Willow, explain yourself." Willow had brought them here hoping to bind George to her. Instead, she had driven him away and set the fire beneath her own feet. She had no choice but to face the mess alone. Her face twisted with anger as she watched Anna leave. This wasn't over. She chased after her, shouting, "Where did you take him? Bring him back." She grabbed Anna's car door, refusing to let her leave. Anna didn't hesitate. She ordered the driver, "Drive." The driver slammed on the gas. The sleek Volga GZ shot forward like an arrow, dragging Willow along for more than 10 meters before she was forced to let go. It had rained the night before. The ground was muddy. When she finally released her grip, her chin, elbows, and knees were scraped raw, blood mixing with dirt. She wailed in pain, her cries echoing through the street. All she had wanted was to help George, to show him how much she loved him. But everything had backfired. George was stubborn beyond belief, impossible to pull back. Now, he probably never wanted to see her again. She collapsed onto the ground, sobbing. "George, where are you?" Makoto shuffled closer, grinning. "Stop crying, Willow. If my brother doesn't want you, I do." He pulled her into his arms, greed filling his expression. Willow felt only disgust. He clung to her like a parasite. She shoved him away violently. "Let go of me. Even if George doesn't want me, I'll wait for him to come back." "Makoto, I have never liked you." Makoto fell into the mud, wailing like a child. "You said you liked me. How can you be so heartless? Why does every good thing in life fall into my brother's lap?" His cries grew louder and louder, drawing attention. People began staring. Willow had a reputation. How could she tolerate such humiliation? She scowled. "Enough. Stop crying. I'll find your brother, but I will always be your sister-in-law. Stop fantasizing about me." That comment set Wong's mother off. "How dare you speak like that? What's wrong with my second son? Just because he didn't go to college, you think you're too good for him? You've already ruined my eldest son's future, and now my second son is so lovesick he can't even think straight. You witch." Maria pointed at her. "That's right. A witch. A vixen." Kaito clapped his hands, encouraging the crowd to gather. "Come see the vixen seducing men." Willow clenched her fists. Only now did she realize how unreasonable this family was. She regretted everything. She snapped, "Enough. If you keep shouting, I'll make sure you never find George again." That shut them up immediately. George was the only capable person in the Wong family. Without the money he had sent back over the years, they wouldn't have survived. They didn't dare push Willow further. Instead, they slunk away, returning to the village to wait. But Willow wasn't done. She pulled some strings and eventually tracked down David's van. It had gone south. George was really starting a business. What an idiot. No business could ever compare to a stable government job. She followed. It took over a month, but she finally found my factory. She dressed elegantly, carrying an exquisite fruit basket and my favorite rice candy, hoping to awaken old memories. Back then, she had leaned on my shoulder, nibbling pesticide-free fruit, watching the stars by the haystacks. Now, I was running a small factory, buying and assembling radio and television parts for resale. The place was dark, damp, filthy, crawling with rats and roaches. Willow hesitated at the entrance, frowning at the grime under her feet. I took off my welding mask and rubbed my temple. "Willow, what are you doing here?" She stood at the door, full of disdain, but forced a smile. "I came to take you home. My father arranged a better position for you, better than before." I sighed. "Why don't you understand? I want freedom. Why won't you let me go?" She pouted. "But your life here is unstable. Your family is worried about you." Some of the workers, former prisoners on parole, started jeering. "Boss, you're lucky. A beauty came all this way just for you." I shot them a glare, and they immediately shut up. Then I felt it, a bad feeling. I turned instinctively toward the entrance. Makoto and my mother had arrived. Makoto hesitated. "Big brother, why didn't you contact us?" My mother didn't hesitate at all. She scowled. "George, what is all this nonsense? The money you've sent back these past 2 months is nowhere near what you earned with your government job." I clenched my forehead. My head felt like it was about to split open. I gritted my teeth. "Willow." I snatched the fruit basket and rice candy from her hands and hurled them against the far wall. The fruit smashed into pulp. The rice candy scattered like snow, dirtying the entire floor. And I didn't stop there. I swept all the radios off my desk and sent them crashing to the ground. My mother gasped. "What are you doing? Is this how you treat your own mother?" Makoto chimed in immediately. "That's right, brother. You can't forget where you came from. You stole my university spot. How can you abandon me?" That was it. Those words lit a fire inside me. I grabbed Makoto by the collar and started swinging, fist after fist raining down on him as I snarled, "Forget where I came from? You've spent years lazing around at home. You think I don't know? This entire family has been living off me, and now you dare come here to insult me." Each punch landed with bone-crunching force. My mother desperately tried to pull me off. No one had ever seen me this furious before. Even the former convicts working in my factory, men who had seen real violence, stood frozen in shock. David sprinted over and yanked me back. He pointed at Willow and cursed, "Miss Lou, if you knew anything about my big brother, you'd know his family is his biggest trigger. He never wanted to see them again, and you brought them straight to his door. I don't know if you love him or just want to ruin his life." Willow, who had never been scolded by anyone beneath her social status, felt her face burn with humiliation. She clenched her fists, her voice trembling. "Fine, fine. I'm always wrong. No matter what I do, it's wrong. I shamelessly begged my father to arrange a job for you. That was wrong. I reunited you with your family. That was wrong. Everything is my fault, isn't it?" She ran off, tears streaming down her face, unable to understand why she was so insignificant in George's eyes. Willow had always gotten whatever she wanted. Back when she had been forced to the countryside, she had ignored George's sincerity, thinking she was temporarily in the depths before rising again. But now, George wasn't even asking for anything from her. He simply didn't want her at all. She wiped her tears away. "George, you refuse a peaceful option, so you'll take the hard way instead." She turned to her driver. "Uncle Tom, find a way to report him. Get his factory shut down. If we have to, we'll tie him up and force him back to work." They gathered local enforcers, arriving with official seals, and even a group of 10 men carrying ropes, bodyguards in full force. Willow gave her orders. "When you get inside, seize him immediately. Make it clean." But when they got there, they hit a dead end. The factory's iron gate was shut. Willow pounded on it furiously. "George, stop hiding from me." She was so enraged she wanted to tear the entire place down. "Break it open," she screamed. The men hacked at the gate with axes, drawing a crowd from neighboring businesses. But when they finally got inside, the factory was empty. George was gone. Willow refused to accept it. She turned to Uncle Tom. "I don't care where he's gone. Search the entire country if you have to." The driver hesitated, his face dark. "Miss," he said cautiously, "I'm a man. I understand Wong. He's running because he's afraid you'll bring his family after him again. If you keep pushing him, he's just going to resent you more." Uncle Tom had served Willow's father for years. He was experienced, a man whose words carried weight. Willow felt her heart tighten. "Am I really pushing him too hard?" "Uncle Tom, I just want to see him every day. I want to be with him." Uncle Tom shook his head. "He doesn't need anyone with him. A falcon has to fly. The more freedom you give him, the more he'll respect you." She understood. She understood all too well. These weren't just Uncle Tom's words. This was a message from her father. She knew she should stop. But some things felt written in her fate, impossible to change. I felt the same way. I couldn't shake the memory of Willow's promise in my past life. She had said she would repay me in our next life. But instead, she had become a shackle around my neck. She wasn't giving me fortune, she was dragging me down. A cursed bond. No more. I shut it all out. I threw myself into making money. Part of it was chasing my past dreams, the other part was keeping my promise to Anna. By then, I had saved up a substantial amount. I started stockpiling textiles, preparing to move them at the right moment. Sugar was another scarce commodity, so I bought it near state factories and even started cross-border trading. Simply put, I sold whatever was in demand. And David, he was a marketing genius. He even introduced lottery sales, making our business explode. People accused us of speculation, of disrupting the system. Many couldn't accept this bold new approach. But I wasn't just a businessman, I had a pen. I wrote letters directly to the city officials, arguing that we were revitalizing the national economy, aligning with state policies, and following the tide of the times. This was the future. And it worked. The city leaders personally visited my factory. After their inspection, they gave me the green light to continue operations unrestricted. That was the moment I knew I had won. I decided to take a bigger gamble. That year, I took over a coal mine. In an era of infrastructure expansion, nothing was in greater demand. The paperwork was finalized, and the first thing I did was call Anna. 2 years had passed. I had been running non-stop, getting involved in every profitable venture I could find. Standing at the forefront of the times, I was a true pioneer of the 1980s. Anna was genuinely happy for me. Meanwhile, she had been promoted twice. Her future was limitless. She said, "Congratulations, Director Wong. On behalf of all our fellow mining students, I extend my sincere congratulations." Hearing her speak so formally made me feel strangely warm inside. I asked, "And what about you personally? Don't you have anything else to say?" Anna laughed for a long moment before finally replying, "Very well. On behalf of myself, I express my admiration and regard for you." Though her words were upright and proper, they were sweeter to me than honey. I said, "Anna, I love you. One day, I'll bring mountains of gold and silver to your family and formally ask for your hand." Anna gave a soft hum of agreement. "My father has heard of you. He says you have integrity, vision, and the courage to act, a man with real potential." I chuckled. "Is that so? Your father is truly perceptive." But as I sighed, I couldn't help thinking of my own family, a complete disaster. I feared that one day my past would taint my future with Anna. And as fate would have it, whatever you fear most always comes knocking. Just as my mining business was getting on track, my secretary walked into my office. "Sir, your family is here." The mine was only a few dozen miles from my hometown, the same place where, in my past life, I had been a lowly miner. Now, the land belonged to me. Recently, I had been building schools and welfare homes in town. My reputation was growing. I had paved 30% of the roads in our district. And now, my mother had followed those roads straight to my doorstep. I felt my face go cold. I'm not seeing them. But I had underestimated my mother's persistence. I soon heard her shrieking, "Who dares stop me? I'm George's mother." She screamed and rolled on the ground until she finally forced her way into my office. The moment I saw her, I was stunned. She was only in her early 50s, yet she looked older than she had in my past life at 60. Her hair was almost completely white, and she was bent over as if her back could no longer straighten. Even in my last life, when I had worked myself to death to care for them, I had never seen her like this. I asked, "What happened to you? What kind of work have you been doing? Haven't I sent enough money for you to hire help?" Without hesitation, she threw herself into my arms, sobbing, "Oh, my son, you don't know how much I've suffered. Why haven't you come to see me?" Then she told me everything. Makoto had gambled away all the money I sent home. Some local thugs had lured him to the gambling table. When he lost, he used my father's city apartment as collateral. Now my younger sister had no home to move into for her marriage. No one was left to tend the family's land, so my mother had been forced to swing the hoe herself. I never expected this. In this life, since Makoto hadn't gone to university, he had turned into a gambler. In my past life, he had leeched off me. In this one, he leeched off our parents. She sobbed, "George, I regret everything. I can't believe I was so blind. I never saw that Makoto was a heartless wretch. I had been waiting for this moment. I had worked so hard just to hear these words. In my past life, I had given everything for my parents, only to die never hearing a single word of gratitude. Parents always favor the child who isn't around. But now, even after hearing her apology, I felt no satisfaction. I said, 'Then I'll round up some men, smash that gambling den, and drag Makoto back to farm the land. That way he can properly take care of you.' I turned to my men. 'Go. Bring him back. Beat him until he learns his lesson. If he gambles again, break his fingers.' But before my men could move, my mother stumbled forward, blocking their way. 'No, no, no. He knows he was wrong. He's soft. He won't survive a beating.' She clung to my sleeve and pleaded, 'I don't mean anything else, son. He just owes a few thousand yuan. Do you have anything in your account? Give me some money, and I'll pay off his debts.' I stared at my mother, a sharp, suffocating pain tightening in my chest. Even now, she was still indulging Makoto, trying to use my money to fill his bottomless pit of debt. I asked, 'Mom, what did you just say? If we pay off his debts now, how the hell is he supposed to learn his lesson?' My mother pounded her chest twice, the thudding sound echoing through the room. She wailed, 'Oh, it's all my fault. I didn't raise him right.' I laughed coldly. 'Yes, I can. Let's go. I'll personally go get him. I'd like to see just how sturdy his bones are.' My mother's face twisted in shock. Her little guilt trip had completely failed. She was out of tricks. After all, she had only just come crawling back to recognize me as her son. She was already grateful that I wasn't bringing up how she had drugged me back then. How could she dare act tough now? At the gambling den, I stormed in with my men and flipped every damn table. I dragged Makoto out, his face swollen and bruised from a prior beating. 'You little bastard,' I spat, yanking him up by his collar. 'You had perfectly good land to farm, and instead you're out here gambling.' One of the gambling hall lackeys stepped forward to block me. 'Who do you think you are? Do you even know who runs things around here?' I shoved him aside without hesitation. 'Who runs things?' I kicked over a stool, my voice ice-cold. 'All of you, come take a trip to the police station with me.' Someone muttered in the background, 'That's Makoto's older brother. That's George.' The gangster's bravado wavered slightly, but one of them sneered, 'So what if he runs a mine? If he sends us to jail, his own brother is going down too. We're all tied to the same boat. What's there to be afraid of?' One of the local thugs smirked, thinking he had me in a bind. Then my mother stepped in to mediate, her voice full of fake laughter. 'Right. Let's not make a scene. My eldest son has money, plenty of money.' I didn't hesitate. 'Call the police. Makoto still has a chance. If he gets locked up for a couple of years, fine. If we don't stop him now, His gambling addiction will ruin him forever." The room froze. Everyone's expressions changed. They could tell I wasn't bluffing. I was dead serious. My mother panicked and threw herself in front of me. "No, no. You can't do this, George. You'll ruin his life." She clutched at the sleeves of my men, trying to stop them from making the call. But I acted as if I couldn't hear her. I shot my men a look, and they immediately headed for the police station. Then suddenly, my mother dropped to her knees. I stood there, stunned. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her wrinkled face. "George, son, I know I've wronged you. And I know it's my fault that your brother turned out like this. But please, please don't send him to prison." That cut deep. For so long, we hadn't seen each other. And now, the very first time we reunited, my own mother was kneeling before me. The pain in my chest felt sharper than swallowing glass. I exhaled slowly. "Stand up. I'm not changing my mind." Just then, the shouting outside grew louder. My father had arrived. He barged in, his voice booming with authority. "Anyone who tries to send my son to prison will have to step over my dead body." His sharp gaze fell on me. "George, your brother was a premature baby. He was as small as a kitten when he was born. We struggled so hard to raise him, and now you want to throw him in jail. You disappeared for years, made your fortune, and now you can't even pay off his debt. If you don't, then we don't need a son like you." It was always the same. My parents never made sense. And Makoto, he sat on the floor, looking completely fearless. He smirked, his voice dripping with mockery. "Dad, Mom, don't beg him. He doesn't care about me. He's just waiting for me to die." My fists clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. Every single person in this room was twisting the truth. It was like they had all agreed that I was the one in the wrong. I finally understood. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about power. They controlled me through my kindness and my love. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Willow stormed in. I was already at my breaking point. Seeing her just made everything worse. What was she trying to do? Interfere with my family now too? But the moment she opened her mouth, I was caught off guard. "Why the hell are you all ganging up on George?" she snapped. "Did he borrow the money? No. If he really didn't care about Makoto, he wouldn't even be here right now." She turned to my parents, her eyes burning with fury. "Makoto is already useless. If he doesn't go to prison for a couple of years, he'll never change. What are you going to do when he finally gets himself shot? You're not helping him, you're killing him." Then she grabbed my wrist and said firmly, "George, let's go. This family is rotten to the core." Willow pulled me away, and for a moment I was completely dazed. She had changed. She said, "George, stop worrying about them. It's a waste of your energy. You carry their burdens, you wear yourself out, and yet Makoto never learns anything from it." Her words made sense. That was exactly how I felt. I sighed. I never intended to help him. I was going to call the police from the start. But my parents kept blocking me. Willow exhaled and said, "I already reported him. This is for his own good. It's also my way of making up for my mistakes. In the future, I'll help improve the education system in your town." A mix of emotions stirred inside me. I didn't know what to say. Willow saw my hesitation and took a step back. She smiled bitterly. "Don't worry, George. I won't chase after you anymore. Makoto's karma is prison. Your parents' karma is drowning in their own tears. And mine is never being able to have you." Her eyes shimmered with tears, reminding me of the young girl who once cried in the fields when she was scared of insects. Back then, I comforted her. Now, all I did was pat her shoulder before turning away. That was the end of it. The police arrested the gangsters along with Makoto. My parents stood in the cold wind, crying for hours. My mother sobbed, "Oh, this is all our fault. If we had just sold the house to cover his debts, none of this would have happened." My father finally saw the truth. He had raised a brood of children, but the only truly capable one was his eldest son. He sighed and said, "George, Your younger brother and sister have moved to the city. Your mother and I only have you left now. Since you're back, why don't you stay for dinner? Let your mother cook for you." I rejected him without hesitation. "No need. I'm busy. I'll eat at the mine." I turned around and walked straight to my Jeep. The engine roared to life, kicking up dust as I drove off. I didn't look back. I didn't forgive them. I didn't feel sorry for them, not for anyone. Their cries disappeared beneath the rumble of the engine. My heart was as still as water. When I returned to the mine, I saw a red carpet laid out in the distance. At first, I thought it was for some government inspection. But then I noticed a woman standing at the end of the carpet, dressed in a white industrial uniform. Anna. The moment I recognized her, a huge grin spread across my face. All my anger and frustration vanished in an instant. I called out, my voice shaking with excitement, "What are you doing here?" Anna smiled. "I missed you. So I came to visit." Then she pulled out a document and waved it in front of me. "Just kidding. I came to deliver this new welfare policy approval for you. The government is encouraging the rapid flow of resources." I took the document, glanced at it once, then tossed it onto my desk. I grinned. "So, you tricked me. But what if I really missed you? What then?" Anna's smile deepened. Without another word, we walked into my office together. The next moment, I couldn't hold back anymore. I wrapped my arms around Anna and pulled her tightly against me, like a drowning man clinging to driftwood. I whispered, "Anna, you're all I have." Anna patted my back gently, understanding the hardships I had endured. I reached into my desk drawer and pulled out a small box. "This is for you. I was planning to give it to you when I returned to the capital, but I can't wait anymore. I want to hear you praise me." Anna let out a soft laugh and opened the box. Inside was a gold ring, modern in design, thick and heavy. She was startled. "This is... I bought it for you in the South. Do you like it?" I slid the ring onto her finger. A perfect fit. Anna blinked in surprise. "How did you know my ring size?" I smirked. "I used to secretly watch you in class. I sketched your hands and calculated the measurements." I held her hand, treasuring the moment. "Anna, you are the greatest gift heaven has ever given me. I don't know what I did to deserve you, but I swear I will cherish you for the rest of my life." Anna's eyes curved into a smile, happiness radiating from her face. She whispered, "Me too. It feels like fate. I was always meant to love you and stand by your side." 2 lifetimes of dreams had finally come true. At last, I was worthy of standing beside her. After years of wandering, I had finally found my way home. I was no longer lost.